Pisces friends, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Pisces August 2025 astrology horoscope forecast. I am especially on fire right now with excitement to explain to you not only the very basic but very important understandings of simple placements like planets in certain signs and certain houses and what that means for you specifically at this time, but I'm even more worked up to talk about the science, the astronomy that we are looking at with eclipses as it relates to the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle that is activated again now, and how the astronomy, the science, relates specifically to your personal experience. That is a special love of mine, is taking the science and transforming this into something usable. This is for you if Pisces is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Pisces placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. And very late degree Pisces friends, so birthdays like March 15th through the rest of the sign, or Pisces placements 23 degrees through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Aries reports, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. I may get worked up in this reading enough that I may be talking fast, but don't worry. You can slow me down with a quick click to the speed button in the top of the YouTube video. You can control the speed. So if you have to slow me down, you can do that. I don't know if Spotify or the podcast have an equivalent. So here we go. All right. In September, we're going to have two eclipses. A full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Pisces on September 7th. A new moon, black moon solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo on September 21st. We're talking about this in this August report because eclipses don't just happen from the astrological perspective at the moment they happen at the astronomical perspective, okay? They happen within a radius of time, an orb in both directions, before and after, which is scientific. There is sacred geometry at play, and when the sun enters a certain configuration, plus some other things that are activators within what creates an eclipse cycle or an eclipse season, the possibilities of the eclipses are open, okay? And we are in that time in August, so we'd be missing the boat if we waited until September to talk about this. So since the end of last year and into 2027, we are in a Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. This is especially relevant to you, which is why I have to really go very deeply into this. All right, so all of this is a prelude that I'm going to build up to these very, very important points. But first, I want to talk about some less intense, more mundane, but very important, exceptionally relevant to the energies that you will experience for August, and we'll build up to these big, deep, profound topics. Okay, so the first thing to know is that we are in Leo season. We've got the sun moving through Leo. We've got Mercury moving through Leo. Mercury has been retrograde in Leo. Mercury will go direct August 11th in Leo. And so you are going to see that this is a time of fire, a time of boldness. One of the layers that is occurring now is going to embody this empowerment through action type of energy. Now, specifically for Pisces, Leo lights up your sixth house. The sixth house is the house of health and your daily routine, the things you do every day, the actions you take every day that form the foundation of your systems of your life. With Leo activated here, this is a time for you to become your own advocate in your health, okay? If you have had a health issue, if you are having symptoms, if you're trying to get help with prevention and wellness beforehand, or because of existing problems and health maladies that you have. This is a time to not back down. And this is a time to not go in uneducated into important interviews with doctors. And I do consider them interviews. Doctors are authorities on certain topics. All of us didn't go to medical school. They know certain things that people who didn't go to medical school know. However, nobody knows more about how your body feels than you do. And so this is a time where Leo, this boldness, this fire, is lighting up your health sector. Okay, so this is a time to take action on being your own health advocate. When my father passed away, the year that he passed away, I'm lucky enough to have two fathers, my stepdad and my biological father. And when my stepdad, who raised me, the year, like earlier in the year before he passed away, I looked at his blood work and I said, because he had cancer prior and he was declared cancer-free. I saw something in his blood work. Part of it maybe was intuition. Part of it was something subtle when comparing different months of the blood work. And I said, I'm concerned about this here. Can you talk to the doctor about it? He said he didn't want to challenge the doctor about it because he didn't feel like he had the place to question the doctor if the doctor said that it was okay. It turned out to not be okay, and he passed away. Okay, so I'm sharing this story with you because I see the relevance here with this voice of your intuition speaking loudly, boldly, of facts, tangible facts, speaking loudly, boldly. This is a time to not take no for an answer for your wellness. It's a time to raise your voice and to not be afraid to question or push back on something involving your health or even some other important matter. Okay, so big message here, be your own advocate. If something was given to you, information was given to you, this retrograde may be the time to go back into it and ask again, or ask someone else, or interview practitioners for being a match for helping you with your health issues. Okay, there's a very, very big thing that's happening right now. Okay, there are many other ways that this can manifest. The creativity of Leo could be manifesting in your workspace. You may have a chance to be more creative at work, and you may feel like you're ready to assert that. Maybe a creative solution for a long-standing work issue in the office or something like that you've been seeing as a problem that you have an idea to resolve. And also, you may see this manifest as you being able to do creative work for money. Now, this isn't the best time to start a long-term business until we get out of this retrograde flow. So let's just talk about this for a second. In the beginning of July, we started the shadow period for Mercury retrograde. Mercury went retrograde now August 11th. It's direct, and as of August 26th, the post-transit retrograde shadow period will be clear. So if you have to do something new, something big, something you have clarity upon, or clarity involving something that will define, a very important long-term thing for you, you may want to wait until closer to this date or after this date when the open window, being free from personal planet retrogrades, opens again. Okay? There's been some confusion, there's been some questioning, there's been some having to go back over things for a great deal of this month, but the second half of the month not only lights up with more clarity from Mercury going direct, but it also lights up with amazing aspects. We have more sweet aspects than salty ones this month, okay, which is very exciting, but it's just by a hair. And most of them are in the second half of the month, okay? So we may have some things to get through. There are a couple of clusters of dates right at the beginning of the month, and the days are on the 24th to 27th. We've got some diciness, but the second half of the month is better. So if you have to make decisions to big things, that may be your time, okay? Mars is in Virgo for a little bit, and that's lighting up your relationship sector. This relationship sector is going to be a big theme that I bring back again when we talk about the eclipses. But Mars moving through here and then through the next partnership house, once it gets into Libra, is going to make you very, very focused on your relationship space, very focused on collaboration, very focused on resolving issues within relationships, on working with people, on creating great things with other people. And you've got a little bit more discipline to do that in the earlier part of the month while Mars is in this Earth sign. Because once it goes into Libra, you will notice you are more in the plane of ideas. Okay, so the idea space can be a wonderful space. It's a mental plane. You will be doing your meeting of the minds. You will be conversing and having, discussions about things. And you might not be ready to implement yet. But towards the end of the month, maybe these discussions might start to gel. Okay, so We've got Venus in Cancer and Jupiter recently in Cancer. Venus will be in Cancer just for a short time this month, and Jupiter will be there for a year until next June. But both of these things are highlighting, accentuating the fifth house of Leo. All right, so we already talked about the fact that Mercury and the Sun are in Leo, bringing this fire. Now we're talking about two water placements, fellow water placements for you as a Pisces, activating your fiery Leo sector. So it is very much about voice. It is very much about expression. It is very much about emotional connections, and home and family, of course, are going to be very much accentuated at this time. Okay, let's talk about a couple more dates here. So August 9th, we've got a full moon at 17 degrees of Aquarius. That fullness, completion, fruition is going to occur in the space of your subconscious mind. This could produce a great enlightenment and an idea about something that comes suddenly. You could have a psychological or spiritual breakthrough, or you could be terribly afraid and have to confront your fears and have your breakthrough from having to confront your fears. This 12th house is the attic of our being. It's a very dark space where all of the gold of potential that we have is there, but all of the garbage is there as well. Okay, so this fullness can bring something out of your subconscious mind, a memory, a solution, a karmic idea or topic. Something is coming from your subconscious mind at this time. It's bubbling out. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama. You also may see some drama or positive outcomes or something coming to fruition with your friendship groups or an internet-based project or a community movement. And then we've got the new moon. The day is August 22nd or 23rd, depending on your time zone. We've got that new moon at 0 degrees. Now, when we have a new moon at 0 degrees, we know that the next new moon is going to be a black moon, which will be the eclipse on September 21st. That eclipse that I told you about, that is the black moon solar eclipse on September 21st. That will be the next storyline of this seed that's being planted now, that will be extra deeply planted, in that black moon eclipse time. We're building, there's a story here. So, as I alluded to before, all of this Virgo energy for you all is in your 7th house. So while you're going through end of last year into 2027, this story of the Pisces Virgo eclipses, it's a story of me versus we, my way of seeing and being, and your way of seeing and being, and all of the relationships in your life and how you are in relationships. All of that is being highlighted. So you will start to see in August, building up to our crescendo in September, things going on in your relationship space of note, for better and worse. Mars is there, the South Node is there. That shows, these nodes show where the eclipses are going to be. And then this new moon in the days around the 22nd, 23rd. Okay, so you are planting the seeds for the types of relationships you want to have in the future. Now, I'm calling the theme of this month Quantum Timeline Leap, Einstein's Promise to Pisces, and we're going to talk about Einstein's relative gravity theory and how this relates to the eclipses and how this relates to the quantum timeline leap, okay? But basically right now, here you are, and you're doing certain things, okay? You're taking certain actions. Those actions are putting you on a trajectory that goes like this. At any time, if you do something different, let's say over here, you do this instead, you now go on this trajectory. And then there are infinite options. You could do something here, it will send you on this trajectory. At eclipse time, the chance for us to do something different or have some new information come in that puts us on a different trajectory are very much increased. And so the things that you're doing now in your relationship space are putting you on a certain trajectory. If you want to change that trajectory, you have to change the things that you're doing. You may get help from the eclipses, okay? And that is part of what you will see come up in August. All right, let's start to go into this whole topic of the eclipses and the astronomy and the astrology. And so let me just give you a little background. Basically, astrology is the art and the science behind making sense of the astronomy. Okay, so the astronomy is the study of celestial objects and phenomena. Astrology is the art and science of making sense and making that cosmic activity relevant to human life. And so we use the science of astronomy to work into the science of astrology, and then we look to see how we can make those movements relevant to us, how they are relevant to us through observation. All societies with written aspects of their culture have shown that they have been looking to the stars. They have been seeking to work with this mirror, as above, so below. The many, many earthworks throughout the world. I just visited Serpent Mound for solstice in Ohio, and there was the solar, there was the alignment there on that day. And we can see throughout history, current still in this time, the ways that humans have looked to join the sky and the earth through the alignment of the sky with earthworks and with our experience here, showing the as above, so below. We live in a holographic reality where the things outside of us are inside of us and the things inside of us push into the outside. All right, so when we're looking at eclipse time, keep this in mind. All right, so let's start with the gravitational theory. Okay, so Einstein's general relativity theory talks about space and time warping around mass. All right, so items of great mass, like planets, heavenly bodies, have their own gravitational fields because, according to this theory of general relativity, mass curves space and time. So space and time warp around mass. Okay, and the more mass an object has, the greater the curvature it creates, the more it warps space and time. So the curvature is what we feel and we observe as gravity, but it's not exactly a force pulling in the Newtonian sense, but it's objects following bent paths through the curved space-time. Okay, so it's going to become more relevant here in a second. So when we're looking at these principles of physics, we can better understand how these astronomical events affect our field. We're all fields of energy. Okay, this is provable. This is not woo-woo. This is science. We are fields of energy, and we have mass, and space and time warp around us as well. So the reason why the effects of gravitational alignments, and basically alignments that create mass and change in mass, which change the space and time curved around them, like a lineup in an eclipse, is because this gravity doesn't work only at the moment of alignment. It builds as the bodies move into a range. Okay, so energetic fields entrain and resonate over time. So that's why we have an eclipse season from the astrological perspective, and not just, and it is from the astronomical perspective as well. Okay, so these eclipses can definitely be felt as these gravity wells where they draw events and emotions and opportunities towards them. So they become, the alignments act as a change in mass. So when the planets line up, when the sun and the moon and the earth are in an alignment, they cause what's called a syzygy, which is a crazy word. I'm just going to write it here because SYZYGY. Okay. So let's talk about what literally happens during a solar eclipse. So the earth and the moon and the sun line up precisely, and their gravitational fields combine along a single vector. All right. And that creates a syzygy, which is a perfectly straight alignment. At that time, the gravitational forces of these masses have time and space warping around them as if they are unified. Okay? And this is why our karmic timelines and the quantum leaps and Einstein's promise of the eclipse potentials is real. That's why what we see above is what we experience below, because the tidal forces are altered, which affects the ionosphere and can even trigger seismic activity And this is a genuine physical intensification. So the system behaves differently under alignment, almost as if the mass has increased, which creates the warping of space and time, which is why all of a sudden we're on a different trajectory altogether from an eclipse, because the matrix is warped where there are spaces between, and the movement out of it is more possible. So, woo, wow, right? So we can feel this, literally and figuratively. So this increase in this energetic weight mirrors this compressed karmic density that people feel at this time, especially if it's targeting you, which it is. Okay, so this fate feels heavier and the timelines feel altered at this time because they actually are. That means that lifetimes of karma can be burnt up in an instant. That means you can go on a completely different track in your life than you had been on previously. That means that all of the laws of time and space momentarily, start to shift. And we feel that and we experience that. And so this is what you have going on in not only September, but also August. So, wow, right? If you enjoy the dates, okay, I know I just went deep and now we have to kind of move out of it, but hopefully I've given you a little bit to think about and more of an appreciation for the ways that astrology is based in science. If you want to learn astrology and you love how I teach, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. You will love my very comprehensive, systematic approach towards teaching astrology as the language that it is. If you want personalized reports on how these outer planets, having recently changed signs, all of them have recently changed signs, Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, how this affects your personal chart and more information about the general implications, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com. If you want to have my free email newsletter with my sweet and salty dates, so if you like the dates and you want more dates, including the best days of the month and the hardest days of the month to get through, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, put your name and email address in, get the welcome letter, click on the archive link, and put in August 2025 astrology. Midway through that newsletter, you'll find the sweet and salty dates, and the whole second half of the newsletter is me expounding upon my favorites and the ones to be most awareful and careful of. I hope you have a wonderful month and that the types of changes that are coming, even if they're not great at first, will give you hope towards a new way. And they may just be wonderful straight off the bat. So either way, massive change coming for Pisces. You'll start to see it this month. Quantum timeline leaps. Einstein promises these potentials with these scientific principles. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Okay, bye.